Hey guys, what's up? So on today's video, I pre-filmed this a few days ago. 5 players who must perform well in tonight's game. And well, 2 of those 5 looks like they're not going to be playing. Velus Jones, who got banged up in that practice in Indianapolis on Wednesday, did not practice Thursday. Matt Eberflus said it's not long-term, it's not serious, but doesn't seem like he's going to play tonight. Also talked about Nate Davis, who did practice in some capacity the past 2 days, but with Eberflus sitting Justin Fields in select starters and with Davis not being a full ramped-up participant, I would imagine he does not play either. However, still talk about 3 other players on this video after doing some editing, so enjoy today's show and join us tonight for our Bears versus Colts watch party.
Bears fans, which player has to have a good game against the Colts on Saturday night? Like, which player needs to deliver in terms of making the roster or earning a starting job or whatever the case may be? If you could pick one guy that needs to perform on Saturday night in preseason game number 2, drop his name in the comments. I'm Harrison Graham. You're watching Bears Now by Chat Sports. The Bears take on the Colts on Saturday night for preseason game number 2 in Indianapolis. Kickoff set for 6 o'clock Central Time, 5 o'clock Eastern, or 7 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock is when we'll be live for our watch party. That's what I was trying to say. Join us for that. So on today's show, I'm going to take a look at 5 players that must deliver, at least must play well in this game to help themselves out. Can Trevis Gipson do it again? Second player under the microscope in this game against the Indianapolis Colts. Thank you, Producer Coop. He was listed as the 4th-string defensive end last week. Responded with a huge game against the Tennessee Titans. And in my opinion, another big game would go a long way for his 53-man roster chances. I mean, his PFF numbers in this one were unreal. 85 overall, 84 pass rush, played the run well, 8 pressures in a preseason game, including a sack and 3 quarterback hits. Like, he played with his head on fire. It was unreal. It's one of the best displays of play I've seen from him, preseason game or regular season game. I know he had 7 sacks in 2021, but we saw more of that in this game against Tennessee. Can he do it again? That is the question, because I still think he's going to have to show more in what kind of surprisingly has become a crowded defensive end room, which, hey, that's a good problem to have, right? That's not something we foresaw. Now, I don't want to confuse you and say the Bears have an elite defensive end unit with elite depth, but they do have quality depth. I think you feel good about the room and at least the volume of players that you have. Obviously, DeMarcus Walker, who's been banged up but returned to practice on Thursday. You saw Yannick Ngakoue. They're both going to make the team. I think Dominique Robinson's pretty safe too, so you're not going to carry 6 ends. You're not going to carry those 3 plus Trevis Gipson, Terrell Lewis, and Rasheem Green. At least I don't think. I think one of those players has to get cut. I don't know who it's going to be, but I still think Gipson's going to have to show more to be the guy that does not get cut. Good start last week. I think he's got to repeat that performance. Subscribe and join our Bears versus Colts watch party live on Saturday, 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central Time. Game will kick off at 7 Eastern, 6 Central Time. We'll take an hour to get you guys ready. Producer Roley is back in the building this week after having last week off, so that'll be a lot of fun as we will have you covered throughout the game. Is P.J. Walker in trouble? P.J. Graham is not in trouble. He's as good as ever. For those who don't know, that's my son. So P.J. Walker, I'm pulling for you. Great name, but he has struggled the past few weeks, and that showed in the preseason opener. Because sometimes you hear about these players who they struggle a bit in practice or they try different things, and then when the lights turn on, they play well. Well, that was not the case. He did not play well against Tennessee. Now, I think he's firmly QB2 still because Nathan Peterman is certainly not a viable backup option. Tyson Bagent, while I'm intrigued, I think there's still a lot of developing that needs to happen there. I do wonder if he could push for a roster spot. We'll see how that goes for him. So I do think Walker is still clearly QB2, but that's more of what's behind him based on the roster and not what he's done in practice and in the first preseason game. Like, I think you got to get more than this out of P.J. Walker. 4 of 8, 19 yards, had an ugly interception, a horrible QB rating. Now, again, he is the backup still based on what you have, but I think just a solid performance would go a long way. And calming the nerves for us as fans, but also for himself. Like, hey, like, they signed me to be the backup for a reason. They gave me a 2-year, $5 million deal. Like, just go out there, deliver the ball accurately, and put together a turnover-free performance, because he's been airmailing passes. He's been putting the ball in harm's way. Those things cannot happen moving forward, at least not at the level of rate that they have been over the last couple of weeks. Now, grade P.J. Walker is a backup quarterback right now. A, B, C, D, or F. I would say like a D, D+. Like, if you ranked him among backup quarterbacks in the NFL, he would be in the bottom half. I'm pretty comfortable saying that. Now, I think stylistically it makes sense with him to be Fields' backup, because he can do some of the running things. He's mobile, and he can play better than he is right now. But at this exact moment, D, D+. I'm not super comfortable with him as the backup at this point in time. Pick yourselves up an FGB t-shirt, as that Week 1 game against the Packers will be here before you know it. You want to be repping for that game. Chatsports.com/FGB. F Green Bay, that's the motto here on the channel. Pick one up right now and have some fun in Week 1. And can Dante Pettis get in the mix at wide receiver? He just returned from the NFI list recently, as he was banged up coming into camp. Did not play in the preseason opener, but has practiced the last week or so, and assuming he's going to play in this preseason game, which I think is safe to say, a strong game against Indy could get him back in the wide receiver mix, which is where he firmly was based on last year and earlier in the offseason. Now, he's not a top-flight wide receiver, but I think he can be a wide receiver 5-6 type if called upon, and depending on how Velus Jones keeps performing in training camp in the preseason. And I'll even throw Equanimous St. Brown into that bucket, who didn't have a single catch in the preseason opener. I think the door is open for Dante Pettis to make this team as a wide receiver 5 or 6. And when you bring in special teams, while Pettis isn't some dynamic returner, he's solid. We know he's going to catch the ball at least. Like, if nothing else, give me someone that can catch the punts. Now, ideally, you would just prefer it to be someone who's for sure going to make the team, like Tyler Scott or obviously Velus Jones, but you can't trust him at this point. You at least have Pettis as a backup plan. He will catch the football on the punt. So I think that door is ajar to see based on how he performs, but also how others perform. Still time to get into the mix to make the 53. What say you? Prediction time. Will Dante Pettis make the Bears' 53-man roster? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. I have him on the outside looking in heading into this preseason game, but I think he's got a chance depending on how he plays in this game and the next game and how others play. So he's somewhere between 54 and 60. We'll have to wait and see. All right, guys, appreciate you for tuning in to today's episode. Subscribe and join us on Saturday night for Bears versus Colts.